Alrighty, we're speaking once again with Ron Keel. Got a brand new album out called Keel World. And instead of me telling you all about it, I'm going to ask Ron some questions because it's kind of, in a weird way, a history of his career, but with all new music. Is that correct, Ron?
Yeah, this is the album of a lifetime. It's called Keel World, and it wasn't enough for me just to make a new album. I wanted to make history. I wanted to create an audio event that gives the fans and myself a clear perspective on all the musical territory that I've explored throughout my entire life with bands like Keel, Steeler, Emerald Sabbath, the Ron Keel Band, Iron Horse. And this is, I want to emphasize, like you just did, this is all new music from all of these bands from throughout my career.
Yeah, because usually when an artist puts out a record that's kind of a retrospective of all the bands they've been in, they've either been just a best of record or a basically here's out of the vault record. None of these are out of the vault. These are all brand new songs from
That's
each of
correct.
these groups you've been involved with.
Yeah, this is not a retrospective. There's nothing, we're not looking back, we're looking forward.
How did you come up with the idea to do this, and how hard was it? Because I also understand that most of these, if not all of these bands, have original members. So this must
That's
have been
correct.
like you had to do some hunting, I'm pretty sure.
No. I'm good friends with all these guys. All these bands that are featured on this album are still they're multiple families, and I am like the godfather of all these Keel families that are on the family tree. So I didn't have to hunt anybody down. These guys are all we're all in constant contact. We are multiple brotherhoods uh, together. So it was certainly an ambitious project to recreate the vibe, the music, the sound of those bands while keeping the entire album sonically cohesive. So it doesn't sound like a mishmash of different tracks that don't belong together. Everything on this record fits like a glove, one song after the other, taking you on a musical journey throughout my entire life and my history.
So how did you decide the order of the songs on the record? I know that is a big deal for a lot of artists, but I'm looking at it and it's you're kind of going, it's not like the first three songs are Keel, then, they're kind of mixed up a little bit. So how did you figure that out?
Yeah, the sequence is important when you're creating something cinematic like this. It's almost like watching a movie. What's the first scene needs to be an action scene, right? And then you got to have your love scene and got to have your car chase. So it's the same philosophy when sequencing an album like Keel World. I wanted the first song to be a solo track, just Ron Keel, to establish my identity of who I am right now. Hollywood, the opening track, takes you from Hollywood to South Dakota and encompasses that entire journey from my entire life. Ron Keel Band, I wanted to kind of scatter or pepper those tracks in. Every other track, for the most part, is a Ron Keel Band song. So you've got my song, the Ron Keel Band. Then, of course, everybody wants to hear the new Keel song, Moving Target, which is very popular. It's done really well for us. And then another Ron Keel Band song. And then it's time for Steeler and so forth. It was a fun process of creating that sequencing, and I'm really happy with how it came out.
So you obviously you hit the road, you tour still. You're one of the hardest working guys out there. So when you're touring now, touring in support of this album, I got to ask you a question. I mean, you got like three different tour buses with three or four different bands, or do you have a band out there that kind of like does a version of all of these songs? Because I can't imagine that you have all the different lineups going on tour with you to promote this album. Or
No,
am I?
The Ron Keel Band can play anything. My band does and always has performed live music from all of these bands and projects: Steeler, Iron Horse, Black Sabbath, Keel. So Ron Keel Band can cover all those bases.
Wow. And then who's in the live band right now?
The same guys that I've had for the last 10 years. Gino Arce's been with me 26, maybe longer, 26 years on bass guitar. Dave Cawthorn, DC on lead guitar, Jason Haven on lead guitar, and the Rev, Jeff Kohler on drums.
So when you came up with this idea, how long ago did this idea start germinating? Has this been something in the works for a long time, or was it something, maybe one day you went, I should do this, and it came together pretty quickly, or was it a long process?
It was a long process, 3 years in the making. And once you decide, you see the mountain, right? You see the mountain, Keel World. I want to climb that mountain. And you start by getting all your gear together, and then you take that first step one ledge at a time. So it was a 3-year process. I started writing immediately after our last Ron Keel band album, South by South Dakota, came out in 2020. And of course, I'm driven to write and create, and I got to spit stuff out, man. I got to make music. And usually I do it for my own personal reward. I create music because it's what I'm driven to do, what I was born to do. And then once you write a song, this evil gene kicks in. It says, I have to share this with the world. I've got to put this out. So you figure out a way to release it and market it properly. But really, it's all driven from that creative spirit that I write songs for myself. But then you get it finished and you go, man, this is really cool. I like this. I want people to hear this. So it started with the Ron Keel band songs that are on this record, 5 O'Clock Shadows, Weekend with My Friends, I think was one of the first songs that we wrote. And then I was at dinner with a friend of mine, and his father sitting across the table from me and shakes my hand and says, hey, what's going on in Keel World? And I heard that word, Keel World. And I thought, what a great name for an album. And I could just throw a party and invite all my friends, Keel, Steeler, the Sabbath guys, the Iron Horse guys, the Ron Keel band, and let's have a big party and invite everyone.
So when you're writing the tunes, do you come up with lyrics first, or do you come up with the music first, or is it just you'll hear something? Where do you get the inspiration from? And then how do you decide which of these projects, like you may come up with lyrics, do you go, this would be my country thing, or this be my Steeler thing, or my how do you decide where your creativity goes?
Great question. And it's a long process. So I'll try and keep my response brief as possible. But I spit out ideas every day, all day long. I've got a recording device with me wherever I go, whether it's a musical idea, a song title, a lyric, a phrase, a riff. I capture all that stuff and put it in what I call my idea bank. And then when it's time to withdraw, I figured, well, we need a Steeler song, right? And this is how the Steeler song, Give Me Guitars or Give Me Death, came about. Once I had the RKB songs and I had the Keel song, Moving Target, I said, we need a Steeler song, right? So I go through my riffs and I hear this metal kind of sounding guitar riff. And I said, man, that kind of sounds like Steeler. In fact, I got several riffs that could have been Steeler songs. So I dig out my stack of notebooks with all these handwritten ideas and lyrics and phrases, and I saw the phrase "Give me guitars" or "Give me death," and I thought that's just cheesy enough to be an '80s metal guitar anthem, right? So let's make that a Steeler song, and I put that lyric with that riff. And I like to build the songs around the voice, the melodies, and the lyrics. Unlike most rock bands, they'll usually write the riffs first. They'll write the music, the guitar player or whoever will write the riffs, and then it's your job to put lyrics to the music, which I find difficult. I did it with Moving Target, and that was one of the easiest times that I've ever been able to just put lyrics and melodies to a riff that was already finished, with Mark Ferrari sending me that piece of music, and immediately Moving Target came into my head and it just poured out of me. I got really lucky that day. So it happens every which way. There's no one right way to do that process. You just keep creating, keep spitting stuff out. And if it works, you'll know it when you hear it.
So when you're thinking about the vocal styles, I mean, you kind of cover the gamut. You got you got that rock sound that you're very famous for, but then, a while back you started doing the country thing, which is a completely, there's a different vibe to the country vocals. And how do you switch, man? How do you do that?
You just approach each song and give it what it deserves. Whatever the
Okay.
song calls for, whatever the song deserves. I like that diversity. I like that ability to combine different colors and textures to my music, whether you call it country or southern rock or metal or hard rock or whatever you call it. Each song demands its own special treatment. And when you're writing the songs, it's not so important. You figure out how to sing it later. I'm going to write this song now, and when I get in the studio, I'll figure out how to sing it right or properly. And I have a great method when I go in the studio to start early in the day. I'm an early morning singer. I like to wake up and get my first cup of coffee and get a workout and then get right in front of the microphone. So you'll usually start with some of the more sensitive stuff that demands all those textures from your voice and the breath and the country stuff, if you will. And then after you've warmed up on a couple of those tunes, then you start belting out the heavy metal, and you end the day screaming your guts out. So that's kind of my method when we're actually tracking songs like this in the studio.
So, as far as the fan base, you have your fan base. Uh, do you have two different distinct fan bases, your rock fan base and your country fan base, or have they kind of, because there's whole Southern rock thing, and now you're seeing a lot of these country acts rocking, and you're seeing the Hardys of the world, the Jelly Rolls of the world, et cetera, crossing over and doing well. And in my opinion, I think the audience out there is becoming more open-minded because it used
Yeah.
to be, I only listen to rock, I only listen to country, and I'm kind of noticing, I feel like people are becoming more open. Are you noticing that? Like, or did you have to
A
keep
lot of
those
people
things?
are, especially with this new record. I get a lot of this from the media. I do these interviews like I'm doing with you all day long, every day. And a lot of the responses, well, I didn't like country music, but I like Faster Horses. I like Neon Circus. I get that response a lot, but I don't divide my fans into the rock fans and the country fans. Each project has their own fan base. Keel has fans, Steeler has fans, and some of those do cross over between Steeler and Keel because it's all 80s rock and 80s metal. And then you've got the Iron Horse fans, which are
Mhm.
they're passionate about Iron Horse. I spent 7 years in that band, over 1,000 shows across the country, and some big events, two great album releases with Iron Horse. So the Iron Horse fans are their own little family, and they'll accept Keel and Steeler. That's cool because that's what Ron did before. They'll accept what I'm doing now, but they are hardcore Iron Horse fans. Ron Keel Band is the same way. We've got fans that weren't even born in the 80s that don't know who Keel or Steeler was. They became fans of Ron Keel Band when they saw us play live, and they heard songs like The Right to Rock and the new original material that we combined in our shows, and they became Ron Keel Band fans. And they kind of accept, yeah, Ron had this band before I was born. It was called Steeler, and this other band called Keel. So it's really not the country fans or the rock fans. It's all the different fans that I've tried to accumulate. And the secret is, I think, to longevity and success is to give them all something real, something they can hold on to, and they can accept the past with the future and the present and come along with me on this ride. So you've got to continue to develop new fans. You can't live off the same people that were buying your music in the 80s. And if I can digress,
Mhm.
and I experienced this in 1987 when we had our third album, the album with Somebody's Waiting, United Nations, Cherry Lane, I Said the Wrong Thing to the Right Girl. Fantastic album. 1987 with Keel on MCA Records. We're on tour with Bon Jovi on the Slippery When Wet tour. And we go into a record store, and there's a massive wall of vinyl albums, literally hundreds of these vinyl albums for the new release. We're there to promote the new release. There's thousands of people in line waiting to get an autograph. And they would come up to me with a napkin and say, "Have sign my napkin." I said, "Man, once you buy the new record, we'll sign that for you." "No, I've already got the right to rock. That's cool. I'm good." And they didn't buy that record. So you can't depend on the fans who bought your last record to stay with you and keep buying everything you do. I have a list of maybe 5 or 6 artists that I'll buy every album they do the day it comes out. AC/DC, Priest, Scorpions, Brooks and Dunn. I mean, Garth Brooks. There's a list of artists that whatever they put out, I'm buying that day.
Mhm.
But not every fan is that loyal, and they feel like they've got the Steeler album and they've got the Right to Rock album, and that's all they need. And that's cool.
And that's it's an interesting thing because for the longevity, you have to constantly reinvent yourself in a lot of ways, which you've done.
I learned that from my heroes. Band like Queen, which Queen is arguably the greatest rock band of all time, in my opinion. And they could do Bohemian Rhapsody, and another one Rides the Bus, and everything in between. We Will Rock You. We're the
Did you
Champions.
say another one rides the bus?
Bites the Dust, right? Sorry.
Little Weird Al reference there.
Weird Al corrupted me in a big way. That's right. No one bites the dust. Ha!
That's
Busted.
awesome.
I busted. But they were reinventing themselves with every song.
Yep.
They transcended all genres and styles, and I admired that. I grew up in that age in the 70s when there weren't so many barricades or fences around music. You could hear the Eagles and Black Sabbath on the same radio station. I was playing classical music in the orchestra, and then I was playing metal on my guitar when I got home from school. And to me, it was all just, it's music. It's wonderful. It's these different things that we can, different colors we can paint the picture with. So why not explore all those territories? And I just don't believe in prejudice in any way, especially musically.
You know, you're right. I think there's a lot of it is I've talked to a lot of musicians over the years, and I think, as rock is aged, the format is aged, it's become there's a lot of gatekeepers who aren't musicians and who tell musicians and radio stations, etc., no, you should only play this. But there's lots and lots and lots of great music out there that's rock or country. And I don't wake up every morning wanting to go, what? Or every morning wanting to go. It depends on my mood, what I want to listen to.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. I mean, my wife goes to the grocery store. She brings home this strange, exotic stuff, and I go, well, let's try that. Let's eat that. I'm not going. Oh, I don't eat that. There's only a couple things I don't eat, and I mean, there's only a couple of styles of music that I don't enjoy or appreciate or listen to, and even rap. That's got its cultural place in our history, and it has it's a cultural thing, and I do certainly respect and admire anybody who creates music from the heart, whether it's created with electronically or not. Now, the AI argument is a huge topic these days.
Yes.
AI, it can do a lot of stuff for you, and I, I can tell you right now, there was no AI used in the new Keel World album. I barely used I. The I stands for intelligence. I didn't even use any I. I just use, well, the I stands for instinct for me. Very little auto tune. I don't have the patience to sit there and tune every little note. There's a lot of slop on this record. It's a real human album. Uh,
Yeah.
when I get a guitar track that somebody sends me a lead solo that's a little out of time with the drums, it's cool, man. It's real. It's human. It's music. It's rock and roll.
Yeah.
So I don't micromanage those files. Well, when we get the audio files, they don't all have to line up. The drummer can play a little bit in front of the beat or a little behind the beat. And we don't fix any of that stuff, man. We just leave it the way it was laid because that's what the musician was feeling at the time.
It's raw.
It is raw. I mean, and I think only I can hear the slop. I think when people hear this record, the production is incredible. It sounds fantastic. And we get a lot of compliments on how the record sounds production wise. So I think when I listen to how the rhythm guitars sometimes get a little off with the drum pattern, I'm probably the only guy that hears that. And it doesn't bother me. It's just, it's human. It's like the records I grew up listening to from Bad Company and Lynyrd Skynyrd and Kiss. And that was, it's real. And it comes from the heart. And I think that does touch a nerve with everybody who hears it.
I agree with you because I sometimes in my business, I'll hear something and I go, but then I realize I'm only hearing it. The average person listening isn't hearing it. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm being overly critical here. And maybe that little rawness or edginess is what makes it good. You know what I mean? It's what it's real. There's a thing where somebody was pre-recording a show for a special they were doing, and they kept re-recording and re-recording and re-recording because they kept maybe making a mistake. And I said, you want to sound like a robot, or do you want to sound like a person telling somebody about something you like?
Yeah, my gauge when I'm in the studio cutting tracks is I can live with that. Can it be better? It could certainly be a lot worse. Can I live with that? Can I listen to that 10 years from now and still be proud? And that's my gauge. You could always keep re-recording, and we could have, like I said, it took 3 years to make this one. I could have easily gone back in the studio and recut stuff. A perfect example is the song Moving Target, the first new Keel song in 14 years. And when I got that piece of music, I got the demo from Mark Ferrari, the lead guitar player in Keel. I got the demo and I was really excited just to get behind the mic. And this is the mic I used. It's a Shure SM7B, probably a $300-400 microphone. I use it for interviews, basically, and home recording and stuff. But it's not a studio mic. It's not something you want to cut a master metal vocal on. But I got behind this mic, started spitting out lyrics and singing the song and getting in the vibe and feeling it. And I cut that lead vocal in a day. And when we went back in the studio and the band re-recorded all the music, it's the same tempo. and same key, right? So they recut all the music, starting with the drum track, and built the guitars and bass on top of that. And I thought, well, let's take another shot at this lead vocal, right? Like, not a real microphone, a 1964 vintage Neumann U87B, which is a $6,000 microphone I'm in front of. So, well, let's recut that vocal. Before we do that, why don't you take that demo vocal and just copy and paste it into the master track, and let's see how it sounds. And I heard it. Screw it, man. Let's leave it alone. You're not. It's magic. It's that first take magic that I got on this very microphone. That it might sound a little different on the U87. I'm sure it would, but there's something to be said for that first take magic. So I kept it.
That's amazing, and so let's move on to the album's out, right?
The album came out August 2nd. It's done really well for us. In fact, Amazon and Tower Records Online sold out the first day. And Amazon was back ordered for the first month. I don't think they anticipated the demand. And I'm thankful for the fans, the response, the media, people like yourself, for playing the record and for talking to me about it on your show. And all of the great positive response that we've gotten from the different songs and the album itself overall. It's been out for 6 weeks now, but it doesn't have a shelf life. I don't think Keel World is going to expire anytime soon. We've got a lot of new stuff coming, including the new Steeler video, Give Me Guitars or Give Me Death, launching soon.
And then I also understand that as far as sales wise, you're doing a special thing on Black Friday on vinyl.
The vinyl edition will come out on Black Friday, November 29th. And it's a double vinyl. It's 2 blue albums, 2 blue discs. And our distributor, Amplified, they're fantastic. Our distribution company, Amplified Distribution, they're amazing. And they really advised me to just do one single vinyl. It'll be easier to sell, easier to ship. And that meant I would have to cut 3 songs off the track listing. And I just couldn't do it, man. I mean, I couldn't amputate any one of those limbs, so to speak. So against their wishes, I said, no, we're going to do a double album with all the songs plus bonus tracks.
Oh,
and that vinyl edition comes out on Black Friday, November 29th.
It's amazing, the resurgence, especially with the younger people, of vinyl.
It is amazing. It really is. I'm very thankful for it. It is still somewhat of a vanity product, but we sold 2,500 Steeler vinyls in one day on last Black Friday. 2,500 vinyl albums in one day on Black Friday of last year. So yeah, that has been a huge resurgence. CDs, people say nobody buys CDs. Physical product is dead, and that's all BS, man. We can't keep enough CDs in stock. Of Keel World and Cold Sweat, another recent release from my company, RFK Media. Those CDs are doing extremely well. And I think people are realizing the importance of owning your property. I can relay a story that I tell often that you or your listeners may not have heard, that we've got this altar in my dining room, which is it's a corner unit with multiple shelves that has, on one level, pictures of my marriage, my wedding, pictures of Renee and I together, our wedding pictures. That's our place. Then it's got a shelf with her family, her mom, her dad, pictures from their military service or their wedding day. And it's got a shelf for my family, my mom, my dad, these pictures are 80 years old and they're pristine. They're just like brand new, right? And I look at the top shelf where there should be pictures of my kids and grandkids. And there's a couple, but I realized I don't have any pictures of my grandkids because they're all on the phone. They're all here. They're on your phone. They're in the cloud. They're on your laptop. So you got to put them on a external drive, take them to Walmart, print them out, frame them, and put them on that shelf because they're physical. You own those. You can't put your shit that's in the cloud. You can't put it on the top shelf. No. You got to have that physical property. It's yours. Just like my mom and dad's wedding picture that I look at every day. It's 80 years old and it looks like it was taken yesterday. That is the value of owning physical property as opposed to having all your important stuff in the iCloud or the OneDrive that to me is the value of physical property. I can go back into my CD collection and find something from 40 years ago and enjoy it just as much as I did the day I bought it.
Yeah, I love looking at the liner notes. I love looking at the
Absolutely.
art, all that stuff. And
All
oh,
that. We've got some great art, great liner notes on this one. And Keel World is a comic book booklet. I don't know if you've seen that, but all of the photos from my entire career in comic book form, and the text boxes are lyrics. My special favorite phrases are lyrics from those individual songs. And the so I got to take all the photos from the Iron Horse. How cool is that? And create this comic booklet that is a really nice package. And we've got the blue the blue version, which is the jewel box. All the fans love these plastic jewel box cases, which is cool. That's why we made them. We sell them. You buy them. You listen to it. It's all good. But I love the digipack version, which is the red version,
mhm.
and I don't sell these. These are all given away for free. I said free to all of my all access members at patreon.com/Ron Keel. I sign them and I send them out for free to our all access members. So it's the digipack version. I hate it when the album is crooked like that. I'm so anal about that. Every album I sign and send has to be, has to be straight, right?
Oh, I
And
bet.
this one also includes the comic booklet. Of course, the digipack also includes the 12-page comic book booklet as well. And like I said, these are not for sale. These are for free to all access members at patreon.com/Ron Keel. Join for only $6.99.
So for those of us who may not understand, I've heard Patreon. I have no idea what it is. So I'm sure a few of my listeners don't know what it is. What is Patreon?
It's Netflix for rock fans or any fans. Any if you're a fan of there are a lot of podcasters, radio show hosts. There's one guy that I subscribe to who's an author, and he publishes a chapter of his book on Patreon every month. And I get the chapter and I read the chapter and you follow the story. It's a subscription platform. I
Oh,
got into this when my wife had cancer in 2017. So we've been online for 6 years now on Patreon. And when she was diagnosed with cancer, I realized that, man, I'm not going anywhere this year. I'm going to be here with her through chemotherapy, radiation, nine surgeries. I've got to find a way to work from home. I've got to entertain people. I've got to be able to, and we've got tons of content, man. On Patreon, you can watch my videos from my entire career. The first Keel show ever is on Patreon. The last RKB show is on Patreon. All of the episodes of my radio show, personal interaction, messaging. We do live chats, live streams. I do house concerts, personal interaction, and I give away stuff like this, man. You pay $6.99 a month for a year, you deserve a free CD. You're not buying my shit. You're gonna get it in the mail for free. And I I do everything I possibly can to take care of that hardcore group of Keelaholics. It's not a fan club, man. It's a family. These people are as attached to each other as they are to me. It's really become this tribe that's larger than life. It's kind of like having 700 kids because I spoil them rotten, man. I mean, uh, guitar picks and stickers and personal messages, phone calls. I got a phone call yesterday with one of my fans. I said, "Man, you signed up for an annual plan. You pay by the year, you get a discount. Let's talk on the phone. I'll call you tomorrow." And we talked. We just talked on the phone. You can't do that with 40,000 Facebook fans, but I can do it with 800 Patreon members.
oh, that's fantastic. So let's talk about all the different ways people can reach out to you. You mentioned, how can they find you on social media?
Ron Keel.
Simple as that.
Yeah, I'm everywhere at Ron Keel on all the platforms.
Okay, and then
And all of everything is linked up on my two primary websites, ronkeel.com and rfkmedia.com, which is our business, the radio station, KRFK Radio, all of the other products that we release. We've got movies coming. We've got comic books. We've got music from Ron Keel and other artists at rfkmedia.com and ronkeel.com. That's the central hub. Just go there and you can find anything. The YouTube channel, tickets to the next show. You got to have that conventional website, which is your home online, and all the other places, Facebook or YouTube or X or Instagram. Those are all like rental properties where you visit them every now and then, but I live at ronkeel.com.
and your Patreon account and all that's probably linked there as well.
It's all there, man. You first thing, we go to ronkeel.com, check it out. You can follow for free. So it doesn't cost anything to follow. kind of like Facebook, any social
Oh,
media. You can
okay.
follow me, and you can. It's our own social media network. But if you want the basic level, $1.99, then you get the radio show on demand. You get all the updates, notifications. You're the first to hear and see what I'm doing, and for all access, $6.99, you get everything,
So
all the
that's like the
videos, all
VIP
the
club.
the free album downloads, uh, exclusive videos. Uh, and really, it's like having all of my family at the dinner table. I'll say and do stuff on Patreon that I won't say and do anywhere else.
Love it. Well, Ron, thank you for taking time today. I really appreciate it. Good luck with the new album. It looks like it's doing fantastic. Good luck with the vinyl release on Black Friday. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And of
Thank
course,
you, Larry.
everything ronkeel.com.
Absolutely. And I look forward to coming back to Arizona at some point, hopefully this winter, and seeing you and all our friends and fans out west. So
Well,
the last trip was fantastic, and I think it's time to come home.
well, yeah, a lot of people may not realize that you're an Arizona boy.
That's right. I moved to Arizona in 1968, and still that's where I had my first car, my first band, my first girl, and my first dreams of being a rock star. So that's always going to be home. And I want to wish all the best to all our friends in Arizona, and I hope to see you soon.
All right. We hope to see you here soon as well, Ron. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Larry. Great job. Great talking to you, man.
Great talking to you too. We'll talk soon.